Last time on Barbarian Brews, Sean the Barbarian took on the rotation waiting lobby format known as Standard 22. Landfall proved formidable, but with the discovery of the Dragon Balls, his sight is set on the Dragon mid-range deck. Will the deck be enough to dominate the format? Let's find out. Hey, howdy, hey, we've got a good one for you today. Today, we're going to be looking at Blue Red Dragon Midrange. Now, this deck has been picking up steam on the standard 22 meta. We got some few key changes that we're going to take a look at, starting with the Orb of Dragonkind, the Dragon Balls themselves. Now, when they spoiled this card back in AFR spoiler season, I was like, whoa, that definitely looks like a Dragon Ball. And as you can see, I don't know if you can tell, but I'm a Dragon Ball Z fan myself. So I was like, I got to do something with it. Now, this standard 22 meta has a ton of good dragons, which we'll dive into. But the cool thing that Dragon Orb, the Orb of Dragonkind, does is it allows you to play these dragons earlier and also has a second function to go find you dragons. So if we do get this orb down on 2, not only are we threatening some serious pressure with our dragons and also having a way of going to get more threats, it does pair very well with Garazeth Prismari as an artifact that we can use for spells, such as playing Alron's Epiphany early, which is always great. Take an extra turn with these dragons closes games out so fast. Alrighty, and then moving on to Dragon's Fire, great removal spell in this deck. Deals 3 damage base, but if we reveal cards like Disco Inferno here, deals up to 6 damage to target creature or planeswalker. Great at removing a lot of the threats that you'll face in this meta, and even the planeswalkers. And planeswalkers can run away with games, so get rid of those pesky planeswalkers, okay? Another great removal spell for this deck. It is a one-sided board wipe. Most of the time, unless you're facing the mirror match, is Draconic Intervention. Okay? You do need to have a spell in the graveyard and one that'll deal enough damage to wipe the board, but we do have many ways of getting that in, our spells into the yard, such like Seize the Spoils, Prismari Command, and Magna Opus, which is great because if we exile a spell, it deals damage to all non-dragon creatures on the board equal to the spell's converted mana cost. So we're exiling Magna Opus, dealing 8 damage to the whole board. Now, which is phenomenal. Now, I have 4 in the deck. This can be flavored to taste for your deck. You can run more, you can run less. I've been facing a lot of goblins and mono white 2 spells, which is a very creature heavy decks. So wiping them early and wiping them often is really great, just in case I can't just end the game right away with my dragon package. But it is a great way to make sure that those creature decks stay in control. So this is a flex spot if you guys want to have some different takes. Now, next we have the 4 Dragons of the Apocalypse. We have Garazeth Prismari, Goldspan Dragon, Ilmarith, and Disco Inferno. Prismari and Goldspan are your treasure boys, and Imarith and Disco Inferno are your heavy hitters. Now, I do enjoy both of these cards a lot. Okay, so if you get any of these down, you're probably in a really good spot. Imarith is really great in that it's a 5/5 flyer, has Ward 4, so it's extremely hard to remove. The Ward 4 is as long as it's untapped, so as soon as you start going in, it does get exposed. But if you do connect, and you will most likely connect with this card, you get to draw some cards, and if your hand is low, you draw even more cards, which is great at refilling your hand and keeping on going. Disco Inferno, uncounterable, flying haster 6/6 that you can pump to just decimate your opponent's life total. Generally, if this card sees the battlefield, you will start to see your opponent's icon blow up as they cannot deal with this card. All right, which is very satisfying, and one of the reasons why I wanted to make this deck as well. I like this card. Big red dragon boy, just swinging face, swinging hard. What it's about. All right. Now moving on to Alron's Epiphany. The great spell gives us an extra turn. We're going to be able to cast this earlier than normal because we got plenty of treasure ramp, but taking an extra turn in this deck is just another way for us to close out the game, secure the win. We got plenty of pressure in the deck. We're just probably, if we land Alrund's Epiphany, boom, we're winning that next turn. Now, the next thing we're going to go over is some of our ways we got get things into the yard and also help us ramp with some treasure. We got Seize the Spoils and Prismari Command. Seize the Spoils are pretty direct. Put stuff in the yard, draws us 2 cards, and then also gives us a treasure, which is great. Prismari Command's more of our Swiss Army knife, does a little bit more. It's a removal spell. Dex card selection by draw 2, discard 2. There are some artifacts that we care about removing. There are a couple times I've had Portal Hole come in and steal my orb before I could actually get some good use out of it. So I've been able to get it back by destroying Portal Hole. But also does give us treasure, so it does allow us to ramp as well. Really just a Swiss Army knife type of card. Great value. And then rounding it off with the lands, we'd opted to go with the snow lands. So 8 snow islands, 8 snow mountains. We did go with the pathways. I did play around with the snow tap lands. I think it's the Fjord, Volatile Fjord. There were times where I really didn't want a tap land. Drawing it later in the game always felt bad, so I tried to make sure that most of my mana was an untapped source. So that way, later in the game, we don't get stuck with an awkward tap land. Not snow, but most of the time I have enough snow to activate the final card, which is Faceless Haven. 4/3 that can come in and finish out games. I really am in love with the Faceless Haven. I'm a huge fan of Mutavault, which is harken back to. Cool thing that you can do with this card. It is a 4/3 changeling, so as a creature of all types, which means that you can also pair it with Dragonfire in a last desperate pinch. If you need to remove something, activate Faceless Haven, use Dragonfire. Boom, you got 4 damage that you can use to remove something. It's a very corner case, but sometimes you might just need that little trick. So this deck is a little expensive on the rares and mythics, running 22 commons, 0 uncommons, 20 rares, and 18 mythics. But I do think this is a worth your investment of your hard-earned wild cards, or if you get lucky enough, hopefully you open up some of these cards in your booster packs. But I do see dragons remaining strong even when rotation happens. So I would wholeheartedly support putting your hard-earned rares and mythics into this deck. All right, so we're going to get to some footage of some awesome games so we can see if this deck is a fit for you. If you haven't already, consider liking and subscribing. Really helps me out. And without further ado, let's get to some gameplay. Hey everyone, if you made it to the end of the video, thank you for watching. And don't forget to like and subscribe before you leave. I also stream on Twitch most days of the week, and we have an awesome Discord community. Links are in the description below, and we'll catch you on the next video.